Hello everyone, today's going to be a very short video because I'm going to get to the point quickly. There's been something that's always bothered me in this case, and I think it speaks volumes. And that is the fact that police, within weeks of the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, knew that Kline was communicating with Liberty German right before the murders. And they knew he had all kinds of illegal child material all over his devices, that he was engaging in this kind of sick, disgusting behavior, things that were just one felony after the other. And yet, he's not arrested, or I'm sorry, charges aren't filed against him for this until almost 3.5 years later. August 19th, 2020. Was when they filed charges against Kline. Again, that's 3.5 years after these murders. Despite all of the information they had, despite all that they knew, a child predator who was doing this was just out there for 3.5 years without an arrest when they had all this evidence. Now, obviously, they may have been trying to use him as bait to turn on somebody, to give them information, but then obviously that became not the case in 2020 when they finally filed charges against him. And why this bothers me, other than the obvious fact that 3.5 years you got a guy out there victimizing children who they knew about, then they just left out there. You've got Logan, who violates his probation by driving to the pet store, and supposedly there's other reports still that he went to a dump site or something to dump some trash or something that day. I won't even get into that, but the bottom line is he had a probation violation, and he got 3.5 years in jail immediately. And that was on April 10th, less than 2 months after the murders. So here's a 77-year-old guy who, again, just violated his probation by driving a vehicle. I mean, who gets locked up for 3.5 years for that? And then you have this child predator who they don't even bother arresting for 3.5 years. Make it make sense. And I don't understand why the media in Indiana and nationally doesn't put pressure on the police to ask them why there was a violent child predator, potentially, or a child predator at the very least, allowed to run loose for 3.5 years. But a guy gets in his truck, drives somewhere, and he gets 3.5 years in jail almost immediately. I also find it interesting, and we can go down this rabbit hole another time, that the judge that sentenced Fouts was former Judge Curtis Fouts, who many of you know from watching my page has a very shady and sinister past and ended up resigning as a judge. So I'll leave that there for you guys to discuss and debate why that is. But just make it make sense, Indiana State Police. I don't understand how you let a child predator just be on the loose for 3.5 years, even if you are monitoring him. But then somebody gets in their vehicle and just, I'm going to drive my truck, violates their probation, and they get almost 4 years in jail. Bizarre. Have a great day, everybody.